What if your greatest strength became your deepest wound? For Sigma females, intuitive vision is a superpower, but sometimes that heightened perception comes with an agonizing price. We're about to uncover the hidden burdens and overlooked struggles of when this gift transforms into something painful. Today, we're talking about something that's too often overlooked. Intuitive Sigma females. The ones with that rare, sharp awareness of the world around them. The ones who read people and situations with ease. But what happens when this extraordinary gift comes with a dark side? Let's talk about why Sigma females often suffer more than anyone else, especially in relationships. The thing is, intuition can be a blessing, but it can also be a curse. When you're able to sense things before they even happen, it gets hard to ignore all those little red flags. But here's the catch. It's not always easy to turn off your radar, and that means even when you want to, you can't help but see things others don't. You're aware of every hidden motive, every unspoken word, but that constant awareness can leave you feeling drained. So, why do intuitive Sigma females suffer the most? Let's break it down. Here are 8 reasons why intuitive Sigma females often end up feeling like they're carrying the world on their shoulders. 1. Constant emotional overload. Sigma females feel everything, and I mean everything. Their emotional radar is constantly switched on, absorbing the smallest changes in the energy around them. Every person's vibe, every mood shift, every unspoken tension, they notice it all. While others may move through life with a certain level of detachment, Sigma females are incredibly sensitive to the world around them. They pick up on emotions that aren't even being directly communicated. Someone may smile, but Sigma females can sense the underlying frustration or sadness. A friend might say everything is fine, but Sigma females feel the weight of their unspoken worries. This constant emotional awareness means that Sigma females are always carrying a lot more than most people realize. It's not just their own feelings that they process, it's also the emotions of everyone they come into contact with. Whether it's a colleague who's had a bad day or a stranger on the street who is silently upset, Sigma females feel it. And while it might seem like a gift to some, it often becomes an exhausting burden. Every interaction is an emotional exchange, and Sigma females are like sponges, soaking it all in. But this heightened sensitivity doesn't come without its costs. While others can ignore the subtle emotional undercurrents and get on with their day, Sigma females are constantly analyzing and processing the energy they pick up on. This means that even the smallest negative encounter can weigh heavily on them, sometimes for hours or even days. It's like carrying invisible emotional baggage everywhere they go. The emotional exhaustion they experience isn't always obvious. On the outside, they may appear calm, composed, or even distant, but inside, they are constantly sorting through emotional data that most people aren't even aware exists. It's like a constant stream of thoughts and feelings running through their mind, and there's never a moment of relief. They may go home at the end of the day feeling mentally and emotionally drained, unable to escape the weight of the emotions they've absorbed from others. This exhaustion can have a real impact on their ability to recharge. While other people can shut off their emotions or compartmentalize them, Sigma females don't always have that luxury. Their intuition doesn't allow them to simply block out what they feel. They're in tune with the energy around them all the time, and that's why they often feel like they've never had a break. It's a continuous cycle, being exposed to emotional shifts, processing them, and feeling overwhelmed by the weight of it all. It's not just about sensing people's moods, it's about feeling them deeply. For Sigma females, this isn't just a passive experience. They actively engage with the emotional landscape around them. They're not just observing, they're feeling, absorbing, and internalizing. And that's where the real challenge lies. It's not easy to live in a world where emotions are constantly being processed, especially when they belong to others and aren't always within their control. The constant emotional overload can leave Sigma females feeling out of balance. They may crave peace and quiet, but the emotional noise never stops. It's like a constant hum in the background, and it's hard to find silence, even in the most peaceful of moments. This emotional sensitivity is what sets Sigma females apart. but it's also what makes their lives more difficult than most people realize. The weight of feeling everything can be isolating, and they may find themselves longing for moments of calm where they don't have to carry everyone's emotional baggage. But unfortunately, those moments are few and far between. If you're feeling this way, drop a like. I'm curious if this resonates with you. 2. Trust issues are real. Sigma females have a gift when it comes to sensing what's beneath the surface. They can tell when someone's being honest or when they're hiding something. This ability to read people is often accurate, but it doesn't come without its challenges. The problem lies in the fact that Sigma females know things others don't. They sense the subtle shifts in behavior, the tiny cues that reveal true intentions. They notice when someone's being fake or when they're pretending to be something they're not. But this awareness often leads to trust issues. For Sigma females, it's hard to trust others completely because their intuition constantly warns them about potential lies or hidden motives. It's not that they're paranoid or overly suspicious, but their instinct is rarely wrong. And when you're constantly proven right about people's dishonesty, it starts to build a wall around your heart. Every time someone says something that doesn't feel quite right, it triggers a deeper sense of doubt. This emotional awareness can make them feel isolated because no one else sees the things they do. While others may take people at face value, Sigma females see through the mask. But this isn't just a gift, it's a burden. When you see the truth in others' actions, it becomes harder to let your guard down. The more they trust their intuition, the more they pull back emotionally, because their gut always tells them something might be off. And that constant questioning can erode the connection they have with others. It's not that Sigma females don't want to trust people, it's that their intuition tells them otherwise. This leads to a vicious cycle where they crave genuine connection, but they can't fully let their guard down because their instinct warns them of potential harm. The emotional toll of constantly questioning people's intentions is draining. Sigma females often feel like they're walking through life with a constant radar on, scanning every interaction for red flags, and this can make relationships feel more like a battlefield than a space for love and connection. Every smile, every kind word, Sigma females wonder if it's genuine or if there's something more beneath the surface. While others may take things at face value, Sigma females can't escape the constant need to analyze everything. They can't turn off their radar no matter how badly they want to. This emotional awareness may protect them from potential hurt, but it also prevents them from fully experiencing the joy of being in a relationship where trust is mutual and easy. And when they do finally let someone in, it often takes a long time to do so, because the emotional weight of past betrayals still lingers. Trust issues are not something that simply go away, and for Sigma females, they can last long after the betrayal itself. The fear of being hurt again becomes a constant shadow that hangs over every new connection. They don't take relationships lightly, and because they feel everything so deeply, the fear of being let down is a very real struggle. Even when someone proves their trustworthiness, Sigma females still carry the emotional scars of past disappointments. It's a battle between their intuition, telling them to protect themselves, and their desire for connection, telling them to trust. And it's a battle that never truly ends. If you've ever doubted someone's intentions based on your gut feeling, hit that subscribe button for more. 3. Seeing potential but losing patience. Sigma females are visionaries. They can see the potential in people, even when others can't. They can look at someone and instantly recognize what that person could become if they just put in the effort. They see the best in people and often become their biggest supporters. But here's the catch: not everyone lives up to their potential. Sigma females can see the greatness in someone, but if that person isn't willing to put in the work to reach it, it can leave them feeling frustrated and emotionally drained. They invest their time, energy, and emotions into helping others grow. But when they don't see the effort reciprocated, it becomes a tough pill to swallow. It's like trying to build something with someone who isn't holding up their end of the bargain. Sigma females feel like they're doing the emotional heavy lifting, while others coast through life without ever fully tapping into their own potential. It's exhausting for Sigma females to constantly invest in others, only to be met with apathy or a lack of progress. It's not that they don't understand that everyone moves at their own pace, but they can't help but feel disappointed when someone they care about doesn't show up for themselves. The frustration only intensifies when they realize they're the only one who believes in the other person's potential. Sigma females can see that they're capable of greatness, but if that person doesn't see it for themselves, the emotional investment becomes draining. The lack of reciprocity leaves them feeling unappreciated, and sometimes it's hard to keep supporting someone who isn't showing any signs of improvement. And as time passes, their patience wears thin. They can't keep waiting for someone to realize their worth if they're not actively working toward it. The emotional toll of constantly giving with little to no return can eventually lead to burnout. It's not just about the effort they put into others, it's also about their own emotional well-being. The more Sigma females pour into others, the less they have left for themselves, and that imbalance can cause them to question whether they're giving too much of themselves. But there's a bigger issue at play, the fear of giving up on someone they see potential in. Sigma females are not the type to walk away from someone they believe in, even if the signs point to it being a lost cause. They'll hang on to the belief that the person can change, but at what cost to their own emotional health? It's a delicate balance. They want to support people, but they also need to protect themselves from the disappointment of unfulfilled potential. When this happens over and over again, it can start to chip away at their faith in people. The once strong belief that everyone has greatness inside them starts to fade. Sigma females begin to question if it's worth it to continue investing in others when they're not seeing the same level of growth and effort in return. The emotional toll becomes too much to bear, and eventually they may pull back emotionally, reserving their energy for those who are truly willing to meet them halfway. This isn't about being selfish, it's about self-preservation. Sigma females simply cannot keep pouring into people who aren't doing the work themselves. 4. Intuition can feel like a burden. Sigma females' intuition is one of their greatest gifts, but at times it can feel like a heavy burden. Being able to read the emotional energy in a room, sense hidden motives, or predict outcomes before they even happen sounds like an incredible power, but it's not always easy to carry. Imagine always knowing what people are thinking before they say it, or picking up on every subtle shift in someone's mood. It sounds exhausting, right? For Sigma females, this constant stream of awareness can be mentally and emotionally draining. While others can float through life without picking up on everything around them, Sigma females are always processing. Their minds never really get a break from the constant input. It's like being plugged into a circuit that never shuts off. Every interaction, every conversation, every moment spent in someone's presence is analyzed deeply, and the weight of it doesn't always come with an off switch. And here's the kicker: they don't always want to know. Sometimes it would be so much easier to just exist in the moment, to not be constantly analyzing every unspoken word or reading between every line. But it's impossible to turn off that inner radar. So, Sigma females end up feeling overwhelmed by their own sensitivity. They can't help but see things that other people miss, and sometimes that's just too much. The energy that others give off can be suffocating for Sigma females. They walk into a room and instantly feel the tension. They can tell when someone is lying, even when they're smiling and pretending everything is fine. They can sense when someone is sad or anxious, even if they're hiding it behind a facade. All this extra information that Sigma females absorb can feel like emotional overload. It's not always a pleasant experience. In fact, it can feel like they're constantly drowning in a sea of other people's emotions. And the worst part, it's exhausting. The sheer weight of carrying everyone else's emotional baggage, whether they realize it or not, can be mentally draining. It's like carrying a heavy backpack full of rocks, and every person they come into contact with adds a new rock. Over time, this accumulation of emotional weight takes a toll. Even when they're alone, Sigma females can still feel the energy of those around them lingering. The emotional exhaustion is real, and it often leads to burnout. But here's the deeper issue. The more they sense and feel, the harder it becomes to escape from it. Their intuition is never off, and that constant input eventually becomes too much to handle. It's as if they're always standing in the middle of a storm while everyone else is enjoying a peaceful, sunny day. The need for solitude becomes greater, not because they don't want to connect with others, but because they need to recharge. They need to shut out the noise, to block out all the emotional energy that they've absorbed throughout the day. But finding true peace and quiet is hard when you're always aware of the chaos in the background. This constant need for emotional space can make Sigma females appear distant or cold, but in reality, they're just trying to protect their energy. They need time to recalibrate, to cleanse themselves of the emotional overload they carry. But sometimes, even when they're alone, it feels like that emotional noise is never ending. This is the curse of having a heightened sense of awareness. It's a gift, but it's also a burden that comes with constant emotional exhaustion. Pause here, comment below, and tell me if you've felt this way. Let's talk about it. 5. Being misunderstood. Sigma females often face the painful reality of being misunderstood. They're not like everyone else. They don't operate on the same frequency. They're not trying to be different for the sake of it, but their uniqueness often leads others to misinterpret their intentions and emotions. They're deep thinkers, constantly processing the world around them, and that can be hard for others to understand. On the outside, Sigma females may appear aloof or distant, and that's often misread as coldness or disinterest. But in truth, Sigma females aren't cold. They're simply overwhelmed by the constant influx of information they're processing. It's easy for someone who doesn't feel everything to misunderstand someone who feels everything deeply. They're not shutting others out. They're protecting themselves from emotional burnout. But that boundary is often seen as emotional distance, leading people to think Sigma females are unapproachable or even unkind. This misunderstanding can create feelings of loneliness. Sigma females are constantly misunderstood, and that can make them feel isolated even when they're surrounded by others. The depth of their thoughts and emotions is often so complex that it's difficult to explain to anyone who doesn't share their level of awareness. They can't always put into words why they need space or why they're processing emotions in a way others don't seem to understand. They try to fit into a world that values surface-level interactions and superficial connections, but it's exhausting. Sigma females know that they can't change who they are, but they often wish others could understand the quiet complexity of their existence. It's hard for them to explain that their silence isn't a rejection. It's a necessary pause to keep their emotional balance intact. In social situations, Sigma females are frequently misunderstood because they don't fit into the usual mold. They're not the loudest or most attention-grabbing in the room, but that doesn't mean they don't have a lot to offer. They just don't feel the need to perform for approval. Their introspective nature often leads to assumptions that they're uninterested in others, when in reality they're just being themselves. But this misunderstanding doesn't just happen in social situations. It also happens in relationships. People often see Sigma females as closed off or hard to read. And while it's true that they don't always share every thought or feeling, it's not because they don't trust others. It's because they're processing everything internally. The constant need to explain themselves can feel draining. In romantic relationships, Sigma females can feel like they're constantly fighting to be seen for who they truly are. They want to be loved for their authenticity, but that's hard when others are focused on the surface. The more they try to explain themselves, the more they feel misunderstood, and that only deepens the emotional divide. The emotional weight of being misunderstood can make Sigma females feel like they're living in a world that doesn't quite get them, and while they may try to adapt, it often leaves them feeling lost and disconnected. Being misunderstood doesn't just hurt, it's exhausting. Sigma females are deeply sensitive to the way others perceive them, and when they're constantly met with misunderstanding, it becomes emotionally draining. The need for validation and understanding becomes so strong that it can overwhelm them, but they rarely show it. They don't expect others to fully understand them, but the constant misinterpretation takes its toll. It's a lonely journey, but it's one Sigma females often walk alone. 6. You don't always have the luxury of ignorance. Ignorance is bliss, but not for Sigma females. Their heightened intuition prevents them from enjoying the simple comfort of not knowing things. While most people can go through life oblivious to the underlying tension in a room or the hidden emotions of others, Sigma females are never able to switch off their awareness. They feel everything, and while that might seem like a superpower, it's also exhausting. Imagine being able to sense when someone's hiding something, when a person's not being truthful, or when there's an unspoken issue between people. Sigma females don't get to choose when they see these things. It's like their minds are constantly alert, scanning for details that others miss. And sometimes, it would be so much easier to not know. Sigma females have to process the uncomfortable truths of situations, even when they'd rather stay in the dark. This inability to shut off their intuition can create an emotional overload. It's one thing to know that someone's upset, but it's another thing entirely to feel the weight of that sadness, anger, or anxiety. In social settings, Sigma females are constantly reading between the lines, picking up on subtle cues that others don't even notice. This often leads them to uncover hidden tensions, unspoken conflicts, or quiet dissatisfaction that everyone else is ignoring. While this awareness can protect them, it also makes it hard to relax in social situations. There's always something beneath the surface, and Sigma females can't help but notice it. The emotional burden of being this perceptive is heavy. It's like walking through life with a constant sense of tension, knowing more than most people would ever want to. This constant awareness can feel like a curse because it means that Sigma females can't enjoy the simple moments of peace that others can. They can't be ignorant to the things that others would easily overlook, and that emotional burden weighs on them every day. The worst part, they can't unsee things. Once they know something, they can't forget it. Whether it's an unspoken resentment or an unaddressed problem, once their intuition picks it up, it sticks with them. This means that Sigma females are always living with the knowledge of things that others aren't even aware of. And while some might think ignorance is bliss, for Sigma females, it's often a luxury they can't afford. They carry the weight of knowing, of seeing things that aren't being said, and of feeling things that others hide. The emotional toll of always knowing the truth, whether it's comfortable or not, can lead to mental exhaustion. It's hard to relax when you can't escape the emotional tension in the air. And because Sigma females are so intuitive, they're often the first to sense problems that are brewing. This awareness can lead them to anticipate conflict before it happens, but it also means that they're constantly waiting for the next emotional storm to hit. It's like they're always preparing for the worst because they can feel it coming. This constant vigilance takes a toll on their mental and emotional energy. They can't ever truly let their guard down. Even when they're alone, their mind is still picking up on the emotional noise around them, whether it's from people, situations, or their own internal thoughts. And all of this takes up space in their mind, leaving little room for peace. While ignorance may be bliss for some, for Sigma females, it's simply not an option. Their intuition is both a gift and a burden, and it's one they can't escape. 7. Overthinking your relationships. Sigma females are deep thinkers. They don't just go through the motions, they process everything. And when it comes to relationships, this thinking becomes an intense, almost obsessive habit. They don't just accept things at face value. Every interaction, every conversation, every gesture is analyzed to death. What did that look mean? Why did they say that? Did that tone of voice have an underlying meaning? What are they really trying to say? These questions loop in their minds, often for hours, and sometimes even days after the interaction. This constant analysis leads to overthinking, and in the case of Sigma females, overthinking relationships is a constant struggle. While others can let go of minor missteps or ambiguous moments, Sigma females feel compelled to dissect everything. And the worst part? The more they analyze, the more they begin to second-guess their own perceptions. They wonder if they're reading too much into things or if their intuition is leading them astray. But even when they try to relax and not overthink, it's hard to stop their mind from racing. Relationships, whether romantic or platonic, become riddled with questions, doubts, and emotional noise. They can't just enjoy the connection in the moment. They're always one step ahead, anticipating what might come next. Sigma females know their worth, but sometimes the emotional complexity of their relationships makes them question whether they're giving too much of themselves. Are they overanalyzing the situation? Are they projecting their own insecurities onto others? This constant self-reflection only deepens their emotional investment, leaving them vulnerable to emotional exhaustion. Overthinking relationships also means that Sigma females can become hyper-aware of every subtle sign of change in their partner or friends. A sudden distance, a lack of communication, or even a small shift in behavior, these things don't go unnoticed. They feel the weight of every emotional shift, and they can't just ignore it. This awareness can make relationships feel like a constant game of emotional chess. Every move, every word, and every look is loaded with potential meaning, and Sigma females find themselves constantly trying to figure out what's really going on. But this hyper-awareness also leads to emotional burnout. The more they try to understand, the more they risk overcomplicating the relationship. They may find themselves questioning if they're the problem, if they're overthinking it, or if they're just being too sensitive. And while overthinking can lead to some great insights and deep understanding, it also leads to a lot of unnecessary stress. It's exhausting to always be in a state of emotional analysis. Overthinking can even lead to self-doubt, as Sigma females begin to question if their emotional depth is a gift or a curse. They may become frustrated with themselves for not being able to simply relax and enjoy relationships the way others seem to. But here's the truth. Sigma females aren't like everyone else. They're not built for shallow connections or surface-level interactions. Their minds run deep, and that depth is what makes them special. The issue lies in how that depth can sometimes feel like an emotional weight they can't escape. Relationships should be about connection and joy, but for Sigma females, they often become a space of emotional complexity. This constant overthinking prevents them from just enjoying the simple moments of companionship, and that takes a toll on their emotional well-being. Sometimes they wish they could just let go of all the analysis and trust the moment, but it's hard when they're wired to read between every line. 8. Emotional detachment as protection. For Sigma females, emotional detachment is often a defense mechanism. They don't give their emotions away easily, and that's not because they don't feel deeply. It's because they've learned the hard way that sometimes it's safer to keep their emotions at arm's length. It's not that they don't care, it's that they've experienced the pain of being too emotionally invested and coming out on the other side feeling drained, hurt, or betrayed. Over time, they've realized that detaching emotionally is the best way to protect themselves from being hurt again. When they feel too vulnerable or exposed, emotional detachment becomes their shield. It allows them to maintain control over their feelings and keeps them from being taken advantage of. This detachment may be misunderstood by others as coldness or indifference, but in reality, it's a necessary coping mechanism. Sigma females have been through enough emotional turmoil to know that putting their hearts on the line too easily can lead to disappointment. The problem is, while emotional detachment may protect them in the short term, it also creates distance in their relationships. The more they detach, the more others feel like they can't truly reach them. This creates a barrier that's hard to break down, even when they want to let someone in. They may feel conflicted. On one hand, they want to form deeper connections and be loved for who they truly are, but on the other hand, they fear getting hurt again. Emotional detachment is a way to avoid those deep feelings of vulnerability, but it comes with its own set of challenges. Sigma females are not naturally closed-off people. They're intuitive, sensitive, and deep thinkers. But after enough emotional wounds, they learn that staying emotionally distant helps them avoid the pain of potential betrayal. The issue comes when this detachment starts to feel like emotional isolation. Even though they crave meaningful connections, Sigma females often find themselves retreating into their own emotional world, afraid to let others in too much. They want to protect their heart, but in doing so, they end up keeping everyone at arm's length. This leaves them feeling disconnected and lonely, even when they're surrounded by people. They're constantly fighting the internal struggle between wanting to open up and fearing the consequences of being vulnerable. The emotional detachment, while protective, can create a sense of emptiness. They begin to feel like they're living life on the surface, unable to fully experience the depth of intimacy and connection that they long for. It's like being trapped in a shell, unable to break free and truly open up to others. And when they do let someone in, it's often after a long internal battle. They hesitate, second-guess, and wonder if it's really worth it to trust someone with their emotions. In the end, the emotional detachment that was once a shield becomes a source of internal conflict. Sigma females are torn between protecting themselves and longing for the deep, meaningful connections they deserve. They want to love and be loved, but the emotional walls they've built up make it harder to let that love in. The detachment that once provided safety now keeps them isolated and stuck in a cycle of emotional conflict. The challenge is learning how to find a balance, how to protect themselves while also allowing the intimacy they crave into their lives. Emotional detachment may have worked in the past, but it no longer serves them as they navigate the complex, nuanced world of relationships. Imagine this. You're in a relationship, and everything seems perfectly fine on the surface. Your partner is sweet, caring, and everything looks stable. The words they say match their actions, and there's a sense of comfort in the routine. But then, your intuition starts to whisper. It's subtle at first, just a little off feeling in the pit of your stomach. You notice your partner's silence when they usually speak, the way they avoid certain topics, or how their energy shifts when you bring up sensitive issues. You don't want to believe it, so you ignore it at first. You try to push those thoughts away, hoping it's just you overthinking things. But that nagging feeling doesn't go away. It grows louder with every passing day. Your intuition, that gift you've always trusted, won't let you rest. So you decide to confront it. You dig a little deeper, ask a few more questions, and suddenly the truth begins to surface. The things you were sensing all along, they weren't just in your head. Your instincts were right, and the revelation hits you like a ton of bricks. What you feared was real. Your partner's emotional distance wasn't just a phase, and they've been hiding something important from you. The weight of that realization comes crashing down. It's overwhelming. The flood of emotions, the hurt, the disappointment, and the sense of betrayal hits all at once, and you're left standing there, holding the pieces of your broken trust. It feels like everything you had built together suddenly comes into question, and it's hard to process the emotional fallout. Your intuition, which had guided you all along, now feels like a curse. You knew what was coming, and yet knowing didn't make the pain any easier to bear. In fact, it makes it worse. You feel trapped by the very thing that's supposed to protect you. Now you're left to pick up the pieces of your emotional world, carrying the weight of the truth you always knew was there. It's moments like these that make being an intuitive Sigma feel like a never-ending emotional roller coaster. You see the truth before anyone else does, but that doesn't make it easier to handle. You're forced to navigate the aftermath of your instincts being right, all while trying to protect your heart from further harm. The emotional turmoil is relentless, and it feels like you're stuck in a cycle of knowing too much and feeling too deeply. Every time you try to open up, you can't escape the awareness of what's going on beneath the surface, and that awareness sometimes feels like more of a burden than a gift. You want to trust your intuition, but at times it feels like it's leading you into a whirlwind of emotional pain. And yet, you keep pushing forward, knowing that your strength lies in the clarity your intuition gives you. But in moments like these, that clarity can feel like a double-edged sword. So, there it is, the hidden price of being a Sigma female with strong intuition. While it's a powerful tool, it's also a heavy load to bear. You're constantly navigating through emotional storms, questioning people's intentions, and protecting yourself from inevitable pain. It can make relationships feel like a challenge, and at times, it feels like no one truly gets you. But this is what makes you unique. Your strength lies in your ability to see the world through a lens that most people can't. It's okay to feel this way. It's part of your power. Your ability to feel everything, to notice the unspoken, to see the truth in places others can't. This is your superpower, but it's not without its costs. Embrace it, understand it, and most importantly, protect yourself as you move forward. I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever felt this way in a relationship? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about how your intuition affects your connections. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to check out my next video on how Sigma females can protect their energy while still embracing their unique power. You're not alone in this. Stay empowered, and I'll see you next time.